Welcome back to Hannity. Now, while the focus of the nation was on Boston last week, lawmakers in the House passed what is called the Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Protection Act. Now, the bill would essentially allow companies across the Internet to share the private information of their consumers with the federal government. Now, opponents of this measure say it is an invasion of privacy by the government. Luckily, the legislation is being met with fierce resistance and opposition in the Senate and may not be taken up. But it does raise many concerns about another overreaching step by the federal government. Joining me now with reaction, two men. They know a little thing or two about the Internet. Authors of the brand new book, The New Digital Age, Reshaping the Future of People, Nations, and Business. The executive chair of Google, Eric Schmidt, and Google Ideas director. What's the Ideas director? Jared Cohen. How are you? Good to see you both. It's an honor to meet you.
Nice to see you. I'm
going to overlook the fact that you, let's see, you were on Obama's transition team. You raised millions for him, donated millions, and, you know, I'm going to forget that. I don't understand as a businessman, just one question on this. As a business guy, Obama and his class warfare rhetoric, does that not bother you?
We and I personally believe that you need a government that reflects everybody. And the fact of the matter is neither political party is doing a particularly good job of getting our country growing again.
But you supported him.
I did.
And he, to me, and by the way, you're a Republican, you're a conservative, so I like you better. Obama to me, Eric, seriously, because I love Google. I love your story. I think it is an inspiration for a lot of people. I find his 1% fair share, skin in the game, patriotic duties.
And contrast that with a strong commitment to R&D spending that invests in the future of America, a strong commitment to trying to get math education stronger. These kinds of things matter.
You mean like stimulus money? You mean like
no, certainly not.
Oh. Because I just think if we would, and I know you came under criticism, I actually thought it was smart that you make smart business decisions and you have corporations, companies worldwide, and you go to where the tax benefits are beneficial. That's smart.
It's called being capitalist.
Being a capitalist. All right. Let me ask you this. You recently went to, and you disagree with your boss, right? But you're gonna have the courage to say it.
We'll get into it a little bit.
Let's just say he worked for the Bush administration.
I know. You work with Condi Rice. Let me. One thing about the Internet that fascinates me. I love the fact that I can pull up your name, as I did before this interview, and get a host of information. You were recently in Burma. You were recently in North Korea. You believe, and this book goes into details, how this could advance humankind in a lot of ways, but yet these governments are resistant to allowing the Internet into the countries.
Well, remember that we're in a shift in empowerment. We're adding another 5 billion people to this online conversation. And that's great for medicine, for education, for commerce. It makes the world a safer place. Getting these people educated means a safer America. The problem, if you're a dictator, is getting them educated gives them choices, they're going to overthrow you, and so forth. So the dictators are fighting this. In Burma, what's interesting, now known as Myanmar, is they decided to open it up. So we'll see how well they get through this transition. In North Korea, where we both were, I don't know that they're going to open it up or not, because they understand that if the Internet shows up, people are going to discover how corrupt the regime really is.
You actually think that the Arab Spring, and either one of you can jump in here, I'm not ignoring you, Jared. The Arab Spring, you think 10 years from now that the Internet impact of what happened there will work out in a more positive way? Well, the polls before Mubarak was out of power showed that about 78% of the population wanted Sharia law. Why do you think that the Internet would impact the views of the culture there?
Well, I should say, I was in Egypt the day of the revolution, and one of the most startling things was you talk to young people on the street and you ask them why they were there. Many of them said, I wasn't politically involved, and then Mubarak shut down the Internet and shut down mobile phones, and he made this relevant to me. That's an aside, but the point is, when we look at Egypt, when we look at the Arab Spring countries, one of the conclusions we come to is that revolutions will be easier to start, but they're going to be harder to finish. And they're going to be harder to finish because technology raises expectations. It makes movement making accelerated. But part of the reason some of these Islamist groups have come to power is they were the only ones who were allowed to actually be organized under a single-man dictatorship.
Yeah, but Eric, I think you were the one that said, or you're quoted somewhere saying that you believe that 10 years from now the result is going to be different because of the Internet's impact of all of that? How?
Well, sure it is, because people are going to have phones, their expectations are going to be raised, and whoever is this government, if it's Islamist or not, they're going to be held accountable in a way that the predecessor was not.
But you can counter the indoctrination, the culture, the mores that people want Sharia law, for example?
Absolutely,
You really
because I really do, because people are curious, and most people are good-natured. So here they've got somebody who's being radicalized and being taught and being told this is the only way. Well, here on the Internet, they've got another choice. They can actually learn about it.
I'm going to hold you over for the next segment, which means I'm not going to update my audience on the Obama phone lady. So we're going to continue more with Eric Schmidt straight ahead. Welcome back to Hannity. We continue with the executive chair of Google, Eric Schmidt, and Google Ideas Director. I never heard of a company with an Ideas Director, Jared Cohen. What a title you've got. What do you do for a living? I'm an ideas man. And that's your real title.
I think it works, yeah.
I think that works, too. I think that's pretty interesting to me. All right. Let me ask from a business perspective. When you look at the American economy, when you look at, we have $7 trillion in new Obama debt, $17 trillion in debt now. We have a growing and elderly generation, the greatest generation. We have more people getting on, needing Social Security and stuff. How bad do you think it is from a business perspective?
Well, the only solution that I know of is innovation. The country is growing at, 1.82% a year. That's not going to put us competitive against the Asian growth rates, which are 4 to 5%. So American is the greatest country in the world in terms of innovation. We form more companies, we invent new technologies, new markets, and so forth. So to me, that's ultimately got to be the highest priority of all of our business strategies. That innovation will allow our young people to create jobs. Those jobs will ultimately allow our older people to have a good retirement. It's really simple.
So we have to also face the truth that we've got to live within our means?
Well, I would argue that we can grow out of our problems. We can grow we need to grow. Growth solves most problems, and the way we do that is by investing in our human capital. When you look at the people coming out of our universities today, the top universities in the world are in America. We should be very proud of that. We should take advantage of it.
All right, guys. Good to see you. Thank you for being with us. Congratulations on the book.